more information, visit SactownSports.com. For the 916, Chris, can Herter play the three? Can.
Sure.
I think he can. The question is,
he can play well.
Right. Is that what you want? And does that help improve the team? I think he technically can and physically can, but is that where he's best suited? That is ultimately the question. We are going to hear from Jason Ross, who had a really good thought, Chris, as we continue to throw around, as he typically does.
I don't know about that.
As we continue to throw around all these names, Brandon Ingram might be out of the conversation. We did Open Door, Closed Door yesterday. Go check that out on YouTube if you didn't get to see that segment during the break, of course. But some of these names that are being brought up, and at this point in time, especially if Kevin Herter is untouchable, whether he is or not, what is actually still realistic and available? I have this free agent list of fours as well, and it spans from, and you're going to crack up at some of these quote unquote forwards for positionless basketball. You have guard forwards, and then you have forward centers. So you have all of that. But let's hear from Jason Ross what he had to say this morning, just as far as who the heck is actually still available and what they could actually do to help.
If JaVale McGee came back, he's a free agent. Yeah. They brought him back, let's just say. There were times where JaVale was in the rotation behind Sabonis. Then it was Alex Len, but it was never really both of them. So it's a little bit of a repeater. You get more size. So if they added someone like that, you go, okay, that makes sense. They added another 7-footer, a wingspan, maybe a rim protector. But will that player play is, I guess, my question. And without knowing who the player is, it's a tough answer. So you could really make the argument. I think Russell did say here, and I do agree with this, like a lot of logic to me means, could they find in a deal like a possible starting four?
Yeah.
Kuzma, for example, which I'm not sure that's the right fit, but let's just throw him out there. Or Markkanen had been rumored before. I think all those will cost an amount. But if they did that, then I feel like the balance makes a little more sense with Sabonis. We'll throw in Kuzma's name, Murray back to the 3, DeRozan to the 4, Fox starting, Monk off the bench. I think that's probably a version of what might look best for this team.
If you don't get Markkanen, which I don't think you are, they already have had this conversation, and Danny Ainge says, this is what I want, right? You don't get Markkanen, you don't get Kuzma.
Right.
What are you left with? To Jason's point, I know someone is probably typing right now or about to call in and say Isaiah Stewart. Okay, fine. Let's do it. You have Isaiah Stewart, you have Cam Johnson, you have Dorian Finney-Smith. That we've kind of thrown around as far as who is available, right? And then and I don't want to be disrespectful and call it the scrap heap, but that's kind of what it is as far as, I mean, are you interested in a Kai Jones, right? And guys like that? So
I think he signed with the Clippers.
Okay. Well, on NBA.com, it still says he's unsigned. There are the reports. He doesn't even have a report, but maybe they're not updated. So just different names that are out there. Gordon Hayward, right? Just guys like that. Who are you going to sign, to Jason's point, if it's not one of these 4 names? And someone's going to say Bobby Portis. Look, we've talked about Bobby Portis. It would be really hard to get Bobby Portis. Besides those 5 names that we've thrown around for the last 3 months, what are your options?
Well, you can't say these 5 names I say and then act there's no option. But
I'm saying okay, fine. No big swing. Kuzma is a big swing to me. Jeremy Grant's a big swing to me, and obviously Markkanen. And nobody's talking about Karl-Anthony Towns. We could just throw him in there for fun.
Sure.
So I would say non-big swings.
Okay.
Let's remove the big swings. Okay. Besides the big swings, we've heard Isaiah Stewart.
Okay.
Who makes the most sense. And Bobby Portis, who I just don't know how you technically get there. And then you have 4, essentially 4 and 4. You have the 4 big swings, and then you have Isaiah Stewart, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and the last name that I said to kind of round it out. But that's it.
I mean, those are 8 options, though.
Sure.
I mean, that's a decent bit of. I mean, what did we say about, before DeRozan got here? Like, I mean, it was if the Kings can't get Markkanen and they can't get Levine, what happens? I mean, they found a different route that we didn't think was an option. And I think that's the same thing that you could apply to this is, it's usually the names that you're talking about are the deals that aren't going to happen. I think that it just can be a name that, no one even thought DeMar DeRozan was on the radar. Nobody knew it could be a possibility. I just think that, we are kind of limited in our, in what we think are options. Like we think that it's just free agents, or we think that it's just the names that are out there, but you can get crafty, you can get creative. And if Monty McNair really sees someone specific, and I'll just throw out I'll just say Evan Mobley or whatever, because that's the name I always use. If he says, I agree actually with what you're saying, that all these names aren't realistic or we're not going to get them. I want this guy. I think that there's a chance that Monty's not looking at the names that are available. I'm pretty sure he already kicked the tires on all those. He already knows what those values are at. Maybe he's looking at the options that we're not talking about right now, that he is looking at maybe it is a Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think that feels like way too big of a swing for where they're at right now.
Yeah.
I just think that's plenty of options. I think that there's plenty of different routes that they can go. And, I don't feel like they are pressed for options right now. I think that they have multiple different routes that they can go. And I would even put Isaiah Stewart as an option that's not really being talked about, but people know is out there. I would think that's the route that I would expect them to go besides the names that are the most popular. So I personally feel like there's plenty of options.
By the way, Paul Reed is a goner now. So Paul Reed,
Pistons.
Yes, no longer available. No, I hear you. And it has to be something. And Sean Cunningham, who we had on the show, said, if somebody's talking about something, it's probably not going to happen. And that's why the DeRozan thing was interesting to me, because people were talking about it, but it was almost so far down the line that it didn't make a difference. So everybody, all the names that we've talked about, the Marketins and the Kuzmas, these names that really, I feel like the Kuzma thing, we haven't even seen that many Evan Siddery, aggregation posts about Kuzma. It's just kind of been a thing because it was a thing at the time. Chris, I want to just have some fun with this.
I like Precious Achiuwa too. I think that's a free agent name that they should.
It is a free agent name. So you have Precious, you have, you see the list here. I'm sure you have it up. Sadiq Bey got mentioned on on both of our other shows as well. Yeah, Reggie Bullock.
Yeah, there's
your boy Robert Covington.
To Jason's, I think he's a couple years past this. I think that to Jason's point, though, there's not anybody that they can bring in that is going to solidify a spot. Because even, Sadiq Bey, I think in theory could, but he just tore his ACL. That's the reason why he's so available right now. I think a lot of people are afraid of how he's going to recover, and he's probably not asking for a minimum, but people are saying, dude, you're a free agent and you just tore your ACL. I'm not going to give you actually any substantial money. So, I don't think, to Jason's point, I don't think that there's any names out there that solidify spots. I can't think that if they aren't going to make a trade, there's not a name out there that locks it down 82 games as the backup, whatever position. I think that we're kind of past that point in free agency. And that's kind of why I think that, again, there's going to be, I definitely feel like there's going to be another move made. I'm not sure if it's going to be that big swing.
You know what's funny? And I just thought about this right now. Would everybody feel the same about the roster, or maybe be more willing to just ride with the roster if Kevin Huerter was moved instead of Harrison Barnes? Or would they still be the same question marks?
Yeah, they probably would be more willing to live with it, because I think the roster imbalance that everyone was a hot button topic after the draft still exists. And I think that's the thing that just speaks so much to there has to be another move, because I heard them go through it on the morning show today is, the Kings forwards or front court right now is Sabonis, Len, Lyles, Murray, and Jalen McDaniels. And that's it. And then you have 7 guys, I think, in the guard spots. So the balance isn't quite there. And you clearly, so you have Sabonis as the starter. You have Len as his primary backup. We saw Jason mention Len played 50 games last year. So even he didn't lock down that spot for all 82. Presumably you'd want another center in there. Power forward, same thing. You have Keegan, and then you have Trey. I know Trey kind of had a down year. I think they're going to play him at the 4. I think they're going to play him at backup center, but I think you would like some more depth there too. And you have no depth at the 3. I assume you have DeMar playing there right now. Jalen McDaniels, we'll see if he's on the roster or not. It's just not deep enough. They have like 4 people at shooting guard position right now. I think they have 3 point guards, but they have 2 at the 2 or 3, you could argue. It's a whole separate. Your entire front court only has 2 people in the depth chart right now. So I think it's just clear that that's the spot that needs to improve or get added to. To your point, if HB was still there, you might say, okay, well, you have DeMar, you've got HB, you've got Keegan, you've got Lyles. Those guys between the 4 can split the minutes at the positions. It makes a little bit more sense, but it wouldn't feel as necessary as 100% guarantee going to happen.
From the 916, Grant Williams, 3 question marks. Young big, got 8.5 offer from Celtics. I like his up-and-coming game. Yeah, the whole situation with Grant Williams, and it didn't really work out in Dallas. Yeah. The infamous story of he challenged Luka and Luka cooked him, and Chris and I went back and forth on, is that being spicy or is that being a good teammate, right? But Grant Williams, he's a bit of a meme, if you will. You know, people kind of like to make fun of him. I'd be interested in it depending on what the price tag is. And this is from Tony in the 916. The Kings are going to have to develop Isaac Jones.
Have to?
If they don't make a move, but I just don't think that's what they're in the business of doing.
Yeah, I don't think that's really in their big club plans at all. I mean, to me, Isaac Jones is just a lottery ticket, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then it's probably going to go no disrespect, but he's just going to go the way of Jalen Slauson. Like if you those second round picks, these undrafted guys, it's nothing more than, hey, we're going to kick the tires on this. We're going to see what it is, and if this guy can even give us rotational minutes, we'll take it. But I don't think that they're
eventually. Not even this season.
This season, yeah, exactly. So I don't think that Isaac Jones is. I'm not saying that the Kings don't like him as a player. I'm not saying the Kings don't think he can be good. I just don't think that that's actually in their developmental plans. You can't, if you're banking on that, then we're in a really bad spot.
That's not why you signed a 35-year-old DeMar DeRozan. that timeline does not add up at all. Coming up next, we break down the Kings' newest guard, Jordan McLaughlin, and what he will bring to the table. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.